Hello again. Welcome to episode 3 of the Rental, Sales, and Labor CRM tutorial series. Today we're looking at all things related to purchase orders and labor. Essentially, we're filling in almost all the gaps from this Christmas party order we started in the beginning of the series. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Going back into the order itself, we have two items that are what I like to call problem children, where the order is not 100% ready to go to the client. Those being the truck, which we don't have, the third small light, which we also don't have available, and a secret third and fourth thing. That third thing will be an entirely new item that we don't have in our inventory, and the fourth thing being non-specific items that maybe we don't want to keep careful track of. In this case, you might not want to keep careful track of each individual power cable or data cable in your inventory, or things like that, since you could have 100 of those items. But you still want to make sure you have them written down in the order and charge money for them since they cost money just like anything else. Let's pretend in the emails with the client we asked if we can rent them a projector. For whatever reason, let's say that this item and client are worth purchasing a new projector for. So we're going to say yes, that will be our new item. After all, we're making a good amount of money on this order, so if we have to spend a few more bucks to make the client happy, that may be a worthy trade-off. So our plan is going to be to sub-rent the truck from another vendor, purchase a fourth small light, purchase a projector, and purchase and go over how to create non-specific items. Once we do that, we'll go over how to quote estimated labor costs and filling in timesheets for you and freelancers you may want to put on the project. We're going to select the truck line in our quoting view of the items build database, so that way we can add it to our purchase order. We're going to click New Subrental PO. First thing we'll do is rename it to whatever you want. I know it's just going to be a truck, so we'll call it Subrented Truck. To give you the tour, we have a PO number, the price, which is the cost of the PO, the item build price, which would be what we're charging for these items, and these two are important so you can check what the difference is between what you're paying for this item and what you're charging for this item. You probably want to be paying less than what you're charging the client for in the case of a sub-rental to make it worth your time, so you can do that here. We have the PO type and status, then a reference number. If you get a proper quote from another vendor when sub-renting, purchasing, or whatever, the information can go here for future reference. Then some date properties that will be auto-filled with buttons we'll see further down, the payment method, and various date properties to keep track of all relevant details. Moving to the properties here, we have the order this PO is connected to, then the accounts and contacts for this PO. Let's say we call up Bud Friendly at Fellow Company and inquire about a truck in their inventory. So we'll add them to our PO so everyone knows who your contact was for this purchase. For the item header and specific item relations, those come into play when you purchase items, so we'll see those populate later in the video. Then we have the items build relation for all items connected to this PO, and the shipping relation to specify the schedule for this PO. Moving to the body, where the meat of this PO is, you have buttons on the left and the items you're dealing with on the right. Similar design language to what we've seen all across the CRM. Okay, let's say we get a quote from Bud Friendly, and we find it pretty good. The quote number was 123456. We'll pay with our credit card. And they send out the truck we need for $300 a day, but they'll give us a 15% vendor discount, and they're going to bill us for 3 days. We get a total of $765, which would be the price of the sub-rental. As for the schedule, let's say we're going to pick up the van early in the morning on the 22nd and return it late in the afternoon on the 24th. You'll see once we fill out all the information in the body, it will populate at the top of the property section of this PO. Let's say we think this is a fair price. We're going to click Select All and click Approve Items. Keep in mind the Approved button will only affect the selected items in the Items Build database, so if you only wanted to approve some of the items in your PO, you can select the ones you want to approve and approve only those items. Another quick tip, if you wanted to remove an item from PO, you can swing it to the far right of the database view here and get rid of the PO from the PO relation. It will then go away, but still stay in the Items Build database if you needed it for an order, for example. That will be true for all templates on the PO databases. Anyway, the status of this PO is now approved, and we have an approved on date. Let's pretend that we picked up the truck, and now we have it in our possession. We're going to select our item and click Receive Items to fill the specific item property of our line here with a subrental specific item. We're going to go back to our order, and we'll notice that the status of this line is now available, since the CRM knows where this item is coming from. You'll notice the unit price is $300, but we want a higher number to make some money off this item, so let's say $400 to include mileage and fuel costs. Alright, that was our sub-rented item. Now to purchase the new stuff. Let's select the small light line in our rental items and click New Inventory PO. Click Continue and continue on. Let's say we go to our friends at Vendor 1 and we're talking to Salesman. we've got the small light already in here since we selected it, and let's say they quoted us $255 for it. Let's also add a line here and make it 4500 watt projector that costs $2,000, and we'll add a quantity of 1, and we'll just say no discount. Since this is a new item, it won't have an item header, but you'll notice the small light does, along with a specific item. Typically, this particular line in the items build database will only appear in the PO, but since we're sharing this line with the order and the PO, it will appear in multiple databases and pull together multiple sources of information. When we purchase another small light here in a moment, the new specific item we will create will appear here in the specific item property in addition to the ones we added earlier while filling and shipping this in the warehouse database. Because of this, it's a little confusing, but as long as you keep in mind the actual specific item purchased will be the one that appears up in the relation properties, you won't get confused. Lastly, we need to add a non-specific item. Like we said before, non-specific items are things like support items that you may have a ton of, but don't care too much to keep careful track of. As I said, things like power cables, but another example would be road cases, power tools, whatever you feel might not be worth creating a whole new item header and specific items for. The advantage of this is you don't really have to worry about inventory numbers, availability, all that. It goes around the available system I've built into the CRM for your convenience should you choose to use it. So what it looks like is this. We're going to add to this PO a power cable package. Let's say the salesman gives us a bundle of 50 each 25-foot and 50-foot power cables. We're going to put that all under one item in our PO and grab the total, which in this case, we'll just make up a number and say it's $400. The quote for this vendor might itemize this, but I don't feel the need to match it if we're going to be bundling them all together under the umbrella of power cable package. Anyway, let's say the vendor is also charging sales tax. Let's add $200 to this just to put a number down. Okay, let's say the quote number is 789456. The payment method will be our credit card, and it will ship to your address via UPS or FedEx. We will approve this PO, and you'll notice the status changed to vendor must be paid. When you've paid the vendor, you have the option to change the status yourself to approved, but the status will change once you start pressing more buttons. Anyway, let's do the 4500 watt projector first. So you've received the shipment in the mail. Let's select that line here and click Add New Item. You'll see the item header database open and we'll see our new item already named properly. Let's say we'll charge $150 for this item, add a new category of projector, and double check the manufacturer is correct. Going to the specific item, we'll make sure the purchase price of this is correct and add the serial number to the property. Okay, we're set. Now let's add the existing item to your inventory. Back to the PO, we'll select the item we're adding and press the Add Existing Item button. You'll see the new specific item pop up with the correct name. Be sure to add the serial number to this page and any pictures or other information you deem relevant. And that's it for adding specific items. Now we're going to add a new non-specific item. We're going to select the cable package and press the new non-specific item button, and a new line in the item header database will be created. Let's make sure we have the correct category. We'll make this new one called cable, and you'll notice there's a new checkmark property called non-specific in the item header database. Full disclosure, I added this while writing the script for this video, which is why it didn't appear in the last video. Anyway, this property will tell the items build database in the orders page to ignore the stock number when quoting, and it will just show as available always. We're going to assume that you have enough power cables to fulfill any order since we're considering this non-specific, but we can still track how many of these will go out in the warehouse page. Okay, let's go back to the PO and you'll notice the status is now done. This is because when clicking Add Inventory buttons, the status will just become done. Since we're done in this PO, we're going to go back to the order and you'll notice that everything is now available, but with different colors. Sub-rented items, or anything with a purchase order attached to it, will be blue. And when we add the non-specific item of the power cable package, that will be yellow. So blue is sub-rented items, yellow are non-specific, and green is everything else, for your reference. We're going to add the projector to this order, make sure everything is groovy with the small light and truck, add the power cable package, and then we'll head over to the warehouse page to fill and ship everything. Something to note about what I alluded to earlier, you have the ability to notate how many of something was filled, went out, returned with these properties that show up in the Fill Out Return tabs of the Items Build database. This is actually for non-specific items. Should you want to record, for example, how many power cables were filled, left, and came back, you can do that here. It doesn't affect your inventory, but you can treat it as notes on your digital pick list. Once we have done that, we can check in everything, and then click Make Complete on this order, and we have completed all we need to in the warehouse page. Last thing we need to do is tell the workspace that we have returned the sub-rented items. Basically, it means that you are closing the PO because at this point, the workspace knows you have an item that isn't yours, but hasn't gotten back to the client yet. So we're going to go back to the truck PO, select all, click Release Items and Complete. It will make the status of this PO done, and you'll never have to see this PO ever again. Alright, before we move on, I just want to show you the final PO template that I have in this PO database. That would be the miscellaneous PO template. If we were to make one now, you'll see this is actually the default PO when you make a new one through the PO database, and is meant to be simply for tracking large purchases that may not be in inventory, but worth writing down somewhere. You've got all your standard buttons and connections here should you need them. A good example for using this is when you're purchasing something like a road case for your power cables. We'll add vendor 1 and salesman to this PO. We'll add a line that says medium road case, and we'll buy 2 for $500 each and a 15% discount. We'll say this was shipped to our location via outside freight, since these would be fairly large packages. Finally, we'll add a random reference number and make payment method a check, just to be different. We will select all, approve the PO to change the status to approved, and change the status of the items to reserved. Then turn around and select all to check in items. This doesn't affect anything to your inventory since this isn't an inventory PO, but it will create a record for your reference on where you can get medium-sized road cases in the future and how much it costs. Okay, now that we have completed nearly everything, let's focus on the next section of this video, labor. In the order itself, you'll have to scroll down to the labor section, and you'll notice we have two tabs here, one for labor estimated and one called log time cards. Labor estimated is exactly what it says. It's an estimation tool for how much you think labor will cost based on the total hours and rates of those involved. The Log Time Cards tab is a linked view to another database that tracks all the actual hours a given person of your crew has worked, hence the time card language. Starting in just the Estimate tab, let's add a third line that will be for a second assistant to our crew here. So we're going to click on the button Add Labor, and let's give the tour. First, the name, which we'll call Second Assistant. Moving down, we'll have the order this is a part of, and the RT, or regular time, this will bill for. This number acts as a bedrock for all the calculations for things regarding labor, since your hourly rate determines how things scale as you get past 8 working hours. For this person, we'll say $40 for RT, just like the other assistant. Now, the OT, or overtime, and DT, or double time properties are filled. Moving to the lunch property, we need to know how long we expect lunch to be, since typically the client doesn't pay for that time. Maybe this would be an hour. In terms of total hours expected, we're expecting a 12-hour day on the job, so we'll say 12 here, and then we'll assume this person will only be here for the load-in and load-out days, which means they'll only be working 2 days, not the full 3 on this order. Okay, it looks like that will be $1,000 for this person at $500 a day estimated. Now moving on to the check marks, which are really important. Net will add this to your net income, and leaving it unselected will actually consider the amount of money this person charges as an expense to you and will not end up in your pocket. We are essentially treating this person as a contractor, being paid by the client. If you were to check this, your net income will increase since it's going directly into your pocket. If you notice in the Learning Designer line on the same database, it is selected because we are assuming the LD is you, not a contractor you're paying. Moving on to the 10-hour standard and no OT boxes, these determine what kind of standard you're billing off of. Having nothing selected assumes an 8-hour standard where overtime starts after the 8th working hour and double time starts after the 12th working hour. The 10-hour standard means overtime doesn't start until 10 working hours, which can easily make for a clean-looking quote if you want to make it easy for the client and yourself to bill for an even round number. And again, double time kicks in after the 12th hour worked in this case. As for the no OT standard, this cuts out all OT and takes into account the RT cost for the full 12 hours of the day. However, double time will still kick in after 12 hours since we don't want to be working more than 12 hours without some kind of pay increase. I think that would be simply inhumane. The last property here is the Add Time Card button. This adds a line to the time card database that is connected to this quoted labor line for you to fill out what the hours this person actually worked. We'll use this button in a moment. Anyway, the rest of the properties here are just admin properties, important for filtering the quotes and invoices we will be seeing in the next video. Going out of that line, you'll see everything is shown here in a nice clean line that ends in a final price of $1,000 and a total labor estimated cost of $4,250. Looking at your subtotals, that is showing up correctly here. Moving on to the actual labor costs, which are in the Log Time Cards tab, that is where the meat of your logging labor will be. You'll notice there is nothing here right now, so let's go back and click the Add Time Card button on all of our lines to add pages here. Okay, now we have some example data here. Every line here is a parent item that you can add days worked to a person working. For example, looking at all these workers, they all have day 1 added automatically since everyone here will at least work 1 day. Whenever you want to add new days, press the Add Day button to do so, and it will add a day in the next sequential order. Let's press that for Lining Designer to show you that the next day will be day 2. Now the RT price is being piped in from the other page into this one. We just need to fill out the in and out times for each of these people. Let's say the first day with everyone was actually a bit longer than expected. It was a 14-hour day, not the expected 12. That means if we started at 7 a.m., we ended at 9 p.m. Let's add that to the LD line in the punch in and out property for the day we are referring to. And let's do that for the rest of the assistants since they probably all worked as a team to get everything set up. We will also assume there was a single 1 hour lunch. Let's do the other days as well to give us plenty of example data to look at. Day 2 is show day, where only the LD will be working, and let's say that was a standard 12-hour day with a 30-minute lunch, and for the last day, we'll add that to all parties involved, and it will be a standard 12-hour workday. Now that we've got some good example data, let's give a tour of these lines. Going into the LD line itself, we can see a summary of this person's work, where all the days worked will be rolled up into one line. We will see a total of 24 RT hours, 10.5 OT hours, and a single DT hour from that first big day. Along with that is the total RT, OT, and DT cost of this person, and finally, total amount of hours being billed and the final cost of this person. When this page in the timecard database is a parent item, all the sub-items, or as we call them, timecards, are summarized in this page so you get an overview of how much this person is charging and a full breakdown of their hours and how you get to the final price shown in EXT price. And if you scroll all the way down, you'll see the timecards attached to this worker here where all the data is coming from. If we go into day 2, you'll see a similar story, but since this is a time card for a single day, we're only seeing the billing information for the one day. If we were to back out of day 2 and look at the time cards as a whole, you get a better picture of what I'm talking about. We see that each day, the times they worked, the rates, the hours, and the final price of each individual day, and in the labor title line, we see a total of all these numbers. If we look at the subtotals now, we'll see that the estimated labor is smaller than the labor subtotal since we had that large 14-hour day we didn't expect. The estimated number will not be counted in the gross income since the workspace knows that we have real hard numbers we're working with and not just estimations. Okay, we've done just about everything we can to make this order complete. If you wanted to, you can check out the labor database from the homepage, which is where all the databases we were just working in are all stored, but that feels pretty self-explanatory to me at this point. You can choose to parse this information however you wish. I'm just listing them all here in chronological order. At this point, in terms of where we stand with our make-believe order, it's up to quoting, invoicing, and billing for L&D, which will be the second to last in our series of videos explaining how to wrangle this beast of a workspace. Thanks for sticking with me. Don't forget to actually check out the CRM on Gumroad through the link in the episode description, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.